for Santa. And when even Santa knows that Christmas isn't about him, but it's about Jesus coming and Jesus being born. And that's what we remember to celebrate. Even Santa remembers to celebrate and to remember to give glory to God. So I want to read you a story. You can pass that around and see. You can look at it. That's Santa looking down at a manger. Jesus gave us our first gift by being born. You can do it. Once upon a time, not very long ago, two women shoppers were talking, obviously, very concerned. Buying Christmas gifts for family and friends is one thing, and I'm glad to do it, but I'm afraid Santa Claus is taking over. He is causing many people to forget the real significance of Christmas. I agree. After all, it is Jesus' birthday, her friend responded. See, they were saying that, oh no, Santa's taking over. It's not Santa's day, it's Jesus' day. Now, Santa overhears a lot when he is making his list of who's been naughty or nice. And much of what he hears goes in one ear and out the other. But this Christmas, he couldn't stop thinking about what that woman had said. Even while helping the elves load his sleigh on Christmas Eve, those awful words rang in his ears. Could they possibly be right? Could Santa be taking over Jesus' place? As he went from house to house delivering toys, Santa couldn't stop worrying. Some people do forget Jesus on Christmas. Could it be his fault? Oh. Santa's last stop, as usual, was at a church that had a life-size nativity scene. Do y'all know what's a nativity scene? Who knows? Yes, Jordan.
Isn't it like a scene of Jesus and...
It is. I have nativity scenes up in the front and at the very front of the house. It's where Jesus is laying in the manger and Mary and Joseph. Every year, Santa loved to be the first person to wish Jesus happy birthday. Did y'all hear that? Santa wants to be the first person to wish Jesus a happy birthday. And he always brought a special present for the Christ child. But this year, Santa's footsteps were slow and heavy. He opened the door at the back of the church and crept into the very last pew. His feet refused to carry him forward to the crib where the figure of the infant Jesus was. He hid the present underneath the pew, which would be a seat. He had never felt so drained. A tear rolled down his cheek. Even though children had left him cookies and milk and many loving letters, he still couldn't remember when he had felt so sad or alone. What's wrong? Giving presents was always such a joy before, Santa thought out loud. He sat back and closed his eyes when suddenly he heard a voice calling, Santa, St. Nicholas. Santa quickly wiped his eyes. He didn't want anyone to see him crying. He looked around the church. Then the voice sounded familiar, but there was no one in sight. Who do you think it could be, guys?
An angel.
An angel. Yeah. Cheer up. It's certainly not your fault that some people forget the significance of this day. The voice continued. Ever since you were born in a far-off Turkey, only 300 years after my son Jesus was born, you've done far more than most to spread the true Christmas spirit. Santa could hardly believe his ears. God was actually talking to him, and his voice was warm and loving. He didn't sound angry at all. He wasn't angry at Santa. Don't ever forget your long and distinguished career, God continued. It all began when at a very young age you were named Bishop of Myra because of the many acts of charity. Santa smiled, suddenly remembering his colorful past. See, Santa did a lot of things before he was Santa. Everyone called me Nicholas then, he recalled. And that's when I first discovered how great it feels to help those in need. What's it mean to help those in need? Does anybody know? Yeah? It means helping out other people who need help?
Because God needs help.
You know what he does? He needs help helping others, doesn't he? He calls on us to help others. Very good. And you certainly helped them often, God added. Remember that poor merchant who didn't have enough money to pay for weddings for his 3 daughters? You secretly threw a bag of gold into each girl's window, thinking that no one would see you, but someone did. For that good deed, you were named patron saint of young marriageable maidens. The 3 gold balls that hang outside pawn shops to this day represent those 3 bags of gold. Santa chuckled quietly. He had forgotten all about that. You've always loved children, God reminded him. Among many other good deeds, you were credited with rescuing some young boys from a horrible death and were named patron saint of children. So he did a lot of things before he became Santa. He saved people. That's the title I treasure most of all, Santa admitted. See, Santa does God's work. Well, don't tell that to many sailors who pray for your help when you are threatened with stormy seas or shipwreck. You are their patron saint as well. And I'm the patron saint of Russia too, Santa added. Proudly, a big smile lit up his face. He certainly had led a busy and exciting life. Churches in many cities are named after me. My feast day, St. Nicholas Day, is December 6th. A very special day for celebrations and gift-giving in many parts of the world. You are known for many names as well, God reminded Santa. From the German, you are called Christkindl, which literally means Christ child. That's true, but most popular name is Santa Claus, Santa interrupted. Some say it comes from the Dutch Sinterklaas, but I like to think it comes from the way small children say, Saint Nicholas, Saint Nicholas, Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus. Santa pulled thoughtfully on his beard and looked down at his bright red suit. Red has always been my favorite color since he wore the robes of a bishop. But he hadn't been so fat then. He must have put on a bunch of weight since he's been a bishop, you think? Everybody show me what a belly Santa has. So put it right up there. Yeah. I bet he didn't always have that belly. Actually, he has only had his round belly for a relatively short time. In 1823, when his friend Clement Moore wrote the famous poem, The Night Before Christmas. Who knows The Night Before Christmas? Yeah, Stephanie had to memorize that this year. It depicted Santa as having a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of what?
Jelly.
Jelly. Soon, many people were drawing pictures of Santa. The famous political cartoonist Thomas Nast, who created the Republican elephant and the Democratic donkey. Have you ever seen those on TV?
No.
The donkey and you hadn't? Okay, good. You don't need to. Was one of the first to draw him with a long white beard and a round belly. Later, the Coca-Cola. Have you ever seen Santa drinking a Coca-Cola? Yeah. The Coca-Cola featured a jolly Santa Claus in their Christmas advertisements. Since then, with the help of television, magazines, and newspapers, the figure of Santa Claus is known everywhere. So he is in every country, huh? Jesus and I want to thank you for helping spread the news about Christmas to every corner of the world, God said softly.